Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. Unfortunately, the season finale tonight as the Sens lose 4-2 on home ice in Game 6 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs also take the series by a score of 4-2. Maude here once again, happy to be joined by Damian. How are you feeling after the Sens have been eliminated, Damian?
Just sad. Or disappointed in a way. You felt like it was there, right? When Perron scored, and you didn't really get to like relish it as much as you wanted to because the Leafs got that quick goal right back. And it's like Max Pacioretty, the guy that was crapped on all series by
Yeah.
Leafs fans, and it's like, oh my God, if he's obviously a shell of his old self, but he always had that gray wrister, and yeah, I can't blame Allmark on that one. It's just it sucks because it was a grind of a season when looking back on it, like from our perspective, right? We weren't fans only, we were also just covering the team and reacting to every single game after, and it went way longer than we wanted to, or that we had in previous years. But it's still tough.
Yeah, that Pacioretty goal, the Leafs media was calling for him to be scratched, their media and all their fans too. So
Yeah, I don't
good
blame
for
them too.
him. Good for him for getting it done there. But yeah, it sucks that I felt like the Sens were doing a pretty good job of preventing like grade A scoring chances. But you knew that those bottom six lines for the Leafs, like throughout the series, they weren't generating much, but they were able to have some good like offensive zone pressure and keep the play out of the Leafs defensive zone. And finally, one of their bottom six lines was able to generate a goal, and that was the difference here tonight. So yeah, sad ending to the season, but to be honest, I think this is the most calm I've ever been after the Sens have
Yeah.
been eliminated from the playoffs. Like, I'm sure I'll be really sad tomorrow that we're not getting hyped for a game 7 or anything like that, but just the circumstances of finally getting back to the playoffs for 8 years, the excitement of going up against your biggest rival in the playoffs, and especially with the initial disappointment of going down 3-0 in the series, the fact that we got back to home ice for Game 6 and still made it a real close game in the end. I'm super proud of this team. I'm proud of the players for the fight that they showed all season and in this series, and super happy for the fans and proud of how they showed up for the team too. It's just,
Oh yeah.
I think that there is no better crowd in the playoffs than the Sens fans in the CTC. It's just on another level, especially tonight with the fact that there was a lot less Leafs fans than in game 3 and 4.
hmm
So just shout out to the fans as well for making it super entertaining from that regard too, with a really loud building.
Yeah, and like Ottawa is a legit hockey market, and it's not even just like the men's hockey teams. Like Ottawa has one of the best supporting casts in terms of just women and like girls sports as well. I always like talk to my friends who are like from university and stuff, and they were saying like some of the Ottawa teams were always the best when it came to like girls sports and stuff like that. So it's a very like just diverse group, and obviously now we have the charge and everything. And you know what, like the Sens, this is the number one, or this is our only like I guess major four sports team, right? We don't have an NFL team, we don't have an NBA team, anything like that. So the fans really show up when they need to, and it's we got crapped on for so long, right? Because you go back to 2017 when I guess they didn't sell out completely in the playoffs, and then obviously there was the dark years, and thank goodness, like those are gone. Those are absolutely gone. We felt like maybe they were going to continue going into the season because last year was so bad, but like this this point of the I don't want to say rebuild obviously, but the point of the organization right now is in a perfect spot because we just made the playoffs for the first time in how long, and then our players are locked up. Like our oldest guy is Batherson, who's 27, I guess. He's still got 5 more years of his prime. You look at Brady, 25, Timmy, Jake Sanderson, who are 22, 23. Like there's still a long way to go. Now the expectations are in order.
Hmm.
We like I'm already looking to next year, obviously, but you have to make your mark in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, the expectations are getting on another level for pretty much the first time in a while. For the last like 3 or 4 years, the expectations have been just get to the playoffs and see what happens. We
Yep, they
finally
did
got
that.
that from this core this year, so it's a huge success. And they did make a little bit of noise. They did make the Leafs fans scared for a little bit there. Turned it into a great series, super entertaining series. I think one that I'll look back fondly upon, even though the Sens lost, which again is super rare. Like the only other Sens loss of a series that I look back fondly upon is probably like the Rangers in 2012. Like maybe the
The
Pittsburgh
Habs
one,
one, the
maybe the
Habs one 2015 too was not
2015. See,
horrible.
see, that one just made me really depressed because I didn't go to Game 4 because I was like, oh, I don't want to see them get swept, and then I
Yeah.
went to Game 6 and I believed that they were gonna make the comeback, and then I
Mm,
was just super super depressed. But also I was like 13 or 14 years old back then. I was
mhm.
an emotional teenager. And maybe the Penguins series in 2017. There's some really fond memories from that one too. But then of course you have the Kunitz goal probably being
Yeah,
the most like
they were too
infamous
close.
goal, yeah,
Too
in
close.
the history of this franchise. So that one hurt so much, but this one was just fun throughout the whole series. I think honestly the fact that there like the pressure was kind of off on the Sens after they went
Yep.
down 3-0 allowed them to just like play their game and put all the pressure on the Leafs. It's like, okay, you're not great at closing out series, so you gotta you gotta do it now, and we're gonna make it really hard for you to be able to do it. So I'm proud of the team for being able to do that, and yeah, I'm just it's tough. It's probably gonna sting more tomorrow and like after doing this podcast, I think. But for now,
Yeah.
like I'm just pretty happy with how everything turned out.
Yeah, and considering, like, do you remember where we were in late November? We
Yeah.
weren't going to make it. Like, same thing with
Mm,
Montreal. We were not going to make the playoffs. We still had, it was weird. We still had a high percentage in terms of money puck and stuff. I remember still looking at the odds, and we had like a 50% chance even when we were below 500. Um, so you always knew that this team could make it, right? And then the big question was, okay, what are they going to do if they make it? And like I'll ask you this, like what do you see in this group in terms of like the core players? And because this was a huge test. Absolutely. Like
yes.
you go down the lineup, you go down the middle, your top three centers, your top three defensemen on the left side, like those guys are going to be in the lineup. And then you have Brady and Drake Batherson on the wings. You got to wonder, is Giroux coming back and stuff? I'm confident that he will, but like, what did you think of a lot of these notable players that have returned to the playoffs the first time?
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaway in terms of positivity from this series is how the core players really played and got better as the series went along. Because obviously that first game was a mess from pretty much everybody, and there were some other mistakes in games 2 and 3, but
Yeah,
everyone improved from then on and showed that they can play playoff style hockey. You mentioned Kachuk and Stützle specifically. I am super happy with the two of them,
yeah.
especially in the last 3 games. Stützle tonight was like maybe the
Oh
best
my
player on the
God.
ice.
Yeah,
He
he
could
was
have
awesome.
had 3 goals. Just no puck luck, and Stolarz played pretty well as well. And obviously we were just waiting 8 years for playoff Brady Kachuk, and it did not disappoint. Started off a little bit slowly, but he was still throwing those huge hits, scoring goals, just leading this team exactly how you would expect him to. So the fact that Brady Kachuk in the playoffs was not a disappointment, I think that's huge. We know that this guy can produce in the playoffs and lead his team, and that's huge going forward. Because I remember. I think it was after game 3, I was on with Conrad, and we were saying like Matthew Tkachuk had a really slow start to his playoff career. I think his first ever series, he had 0 points. So if something like that had happened with Brady, that would have been a real tough look. That would have been like a little bit of a question about the future, as it's like, okay, we thought he was going to be this playoff beast and he wasn't able to do it. But despite being injured, he was absolutely awesome in this series. So I think specifically Tkachuk and Stützle, super happy with how they played. And Stützle as well, there was probably more of a question of how his play would translate to the playoffs, because he's not the most physical guy, even though he does put up hits, and he put up a lot of hits in this series. So he was able to change his game to playoff style hockey. And again, it was slow at the start, the first 3 games in terms of production, but he had like the most hits on the team. And then in the last 3 games, he started getting that production and getting more looks on net. And he had some moments where he was just flying through the neutral zone tonight and gaining the Leaf zone, which usually you're not getting zone entries like that in the playoffs. Usually it's all dump and chase. And if it wasn't Stützle with the puck, it was dump and chase. So both of them, I think, are super promising heading forward in terms of they will be able to perform in the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm looking here at the stat sheet. Brady Tkachuk had 8 hits tonight. Batherson had 9, and
Oh,
Timmy
wow.
had 6. So I know like hits aren't everything, obviously, but Timmy was everywhere, and Brady, like we kind of knew Brady. Thing is with Matthew, right? I think his first series, he was fresh out of the draft. I think it was 2017. Calgary made it, and I think they got swept by Anaheim that year. And then, but Brady, yeah, Brady is 25 now, right? So he's had to wait a long time. And there was always the not the wonder, I guess, because Sens fans backed it up consistently. And whenever the weird notion of, oh, does Brady want out and stuff like that, if he did, like he would have signed a 3-year contract after his ELC in 2021, and he would have been gone by now. But he signed a long-term 7-year contract. I think he's still got 3 more years left, and he put like even like let's just say he just leaves, right? In 3 years from now, like I'm just saying words, obviously. I know that he gave it his all every single
Yeah.
game, and he represented the city very well. Like that's a guy that's coming from America, and he joined the organization at the worst point. Like we needed to switch directions because at that point, um you just go down the list, right? That was when the Hoffman and Carlson scandal was going down. Randy Lee was accused of or charged, sorry, with assault. Literally right before the draft. The organization was in a terrible spot. The Melnick out posters, billboards were out at that
Oh,
season.
that's a flashback. That's a
Right?
throwback right there.
Exactly. Like everyone hated the organization. It was unpopular. Like if I wore this jersey out, I literally would have been made fun of.
Hmm.
Um, and now all of a sudden, like you bring him in, he just changes the outlook, and you needed a leader like that. And he's not a guy that's going to put up 100 points, but he changed the identity of this organization. Like I mean, for myself and probably for you as well, growing up and cheering for the Sens, they've always been the gritty underdog team, and they're not the flashy team that gets the superstars. They win games through hard work, and Brady Tkachuk brought that back.
Yeah, like you said, he was drafted at this franchise's lowest point. I
Literally.
think he was drafted when Carlson was still a member of the organization, but then
Yeah, he
Carlson
was.
was traded right before training camp. So, yeah, to go from how it started to where we are now, just amazing stuff from Brady Tkachuk. Pretty much this team's franchise player. He may not score the most points. He may not have the most ice time compared to like a number 1D like Sanderson or anything like that, but
Mhm.
it's he's so big for this team, and he showed why to everyone in these playoffs. And yeah, I'm super happy with how he performed and how he led this team.
Yeah, point per game in the playoffs. Timmy, like I really want to talk about him because he was we always kind of wondered, okay, what's he going to be like in the playoffs, right? Because
Hmm.
he is softer
Yeah.
compared to Brady Tkachuk. And then obviously every other fan base thinks he's soft, and then he goes out there and he throws 8 hits. So, and his physicality, like, and you got to give sort of credit to DJ Smith here. Um, because Tim Stützle obviously comes into the lineup in 2021. He is a skilled forward who is fast and is your prototypical, I guess, European scoring star. That's what he is, right? And then DJ Smith implements a very physical and grind you down system. And I think Tim Stützle did a good job at adapting to that and didn't push away the pressure of wanting or the pressure of changing your kind of your play style a little bit. And then Travis Green comes in, and Green did a great job at just letting Timmy do his job on the ice. and letting him play his game, but also like Tim Stützle has that competitive edge that he shows too. Like you look at a guy like Nylander, who's also a European scoring player, he doesn't show it
Yeah.
consistently enough like Tim Stützle does.
Yeah, Nylander had a good night tonight, but the type of game that Nylander had in Game 5, that's an effort that you'll never see from Tim Stützle. Tim Stützle
Yeah.
is heart every night. Not to quote the slogan of "heart over hype," but I think that applies
No
to
one
Timmy.
used that.
Yeah,
Like an entire playoff run.
yeah. But I think it applies to Timmy really well. He gives it all for this team every night, and very good showing from him in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we continue, just going to give a quick ad read for Game Over Network's Patreon. If you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, and if you have a few spare bucks kicking around, you can head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Game Over Network. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can even join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to share a few dollars, we have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on your social media of choice. Now, obviously, this is the last main Game Over Ottawa episode of the season, so if you do want to support us throughout the summer when there's no games and no streams going on, Patreon is the best way to do that with a little bit of a monthly subscription there. So patreon.com/the Game Over Network is where you can find that. So I figure into the second period here, we should probably get into the minutia of the actual game here a little bit and just I kind of don't even want to talk about it just because I feel like looking forward to the future is more fun right now. But probably going over the big plays real quick here. That resulted in the Sens being eliminated is we got to at least do that because it is game over. It's also series over and season over tonight, but we do have the actual game to talk about as well. And Austin Matthews, he stepped up. We were kind of making fun of him a little bit on the post-game show for Game 5, saying he only had 1 goal in the series. He gets a huge one. That stat about the Leafs not scoring any power play goals in their elimination games over the last 8 years, they finally got another one, and who better to do it than their captain? So that one, I feel like it's a little bit lucky, but it's a perfect screen by Matthew Knies in front of the net. What did you see on that goal, Damien?
Just shot to the net. I think he was looking for deflection. And I don't think he was aiming for that spot. But put pucks on net, you never know what's going to happen. And the first goal, when that goes in, you really feel like, oh, I don't think we're going to win this game today. Because I'm trying to think. I think the only game that a team has lost by scoring the first goal was Game 3 for us. And
that's right.
so, I mean, just a simple shot. And it's crazy how that went in, right? Too, because it didn't go under Allmark's arm or anything. It just went past his pad
Right
and
along the post.
The bottom left corner. That's a tough one because it wasn't even a snipe bar down that Matthews will do. You got to wonder what is going on with his shot because he hasn't really shown that elite wrist shot or snapshot that he has. I mean, he gets it through, right? So you got to respect it. Who took that penalty too? Because that was a rough time to take it. It was Brady.
Tkachuk.
And honestly, I missed this. I didn't actually see no one clipped it from what I saw on Twitter.
So he was finishing his check by the benches as the Leafs dumped it in, but he took a few steps to approach Carlo after Carlo had already dumped it in. So it was technically interference. I kind of felt this way about the Greg penalty in last game, even though it was a tackle. It's the kind of thing that I don't expect to be called in the playoffs. But again, they're trying to call stuff that's more obvious. So if you give them something like that where it's a late hit, I don't blame the refs at all for calling that one.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I'm not gonna I don't think we're gonna sit here and be like, well, if they just took away that penalty, then the Sens would have won the game. No.
There
Like,
was only 3 penalty calls in the whole game, so
yeah,
the refing
exactly.
really was not a factor tonight. The
No.
refing, if anything, what was a factor was the linesman constantly getting in the way of the puck and the
Yeah.
play. I think there was 3 times where it resulted in a Leafs scoring chance. I think in the first period, Sanderson got blocked by the linesman. It was a 2-on-1 because of that, and then there was another one at some point, and then in the third period there was one where I think in the second period, it was in the Leafs' end. It hit the linesman, and we got a scoring chance out of it. And then there was another one for the Leafs where the ref got caught in the board battle. So bad night for the linesman, but in terms of reffing, not a huge deal, like you said.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, like that, it kind of felt like sort of like a makeup call in a way because, the Sens already had the power. This is what the refs do, I feel like, in the playoffs. In the first
Yeah,
period, they even it out, right? Like no matter what it is, it could just be a simple like slash in the neutral zone. But the thing is that they got to sort of cater to the other team, right? So they got to
hmm
call a so-so penalty. And you know what? Like, no one's going to be happy with the refs at the end of the day. And if
yeah,
you are constantly calling panel like slashes and hooks and stuff, then maybe that just throws the flow out of the game, and then people are just complaining constantly. Like I think the refs did a fine job in this game overall. Like
yeah.
you can't,
This
things are
was
going to happen.
definitely like a let them play sort of game,
Yeah, sure,
and the
do
Leafs pulled it off and proved
it.
themselves to be the better team tonight.
Yeah, and like I mean the Riley penalty towards the end, that's one of those ones where it's like, okay, if your player is like close to the net and near the puck, and then you shove him into the goal like or like the post, right? Um, it's a different circumstance, right? Where like it's a more dangerous play, and then obviously you have the home crowd behind you, so then the ref is like, oh shit, okay, you know
Yeah,
what? Got to
that
call
was one that they
penalty. Yeah,
had to
so.
call.
That's what happens.
In the end, the Leafs finished 1-for-1 on the power play tonight. So the two biggest things in this series the whole way has been the face-offs and the power play. So if you take
Yeah,
one penalty and you can't kill it, that's gonna burn you in the playoffs. To put it that way. Yeah.
that's gonna be one thing to figure out in the off season is the penalty kill.
hmm
But you know what? We'll chalk it up, I'm sure, soon. But they'll have to figure out some players who they want to add in the off season to go up against these power plays that are lethal because the Leafs had an insane percentage this series, and then you know what? If Tampa comes back, they're really good. Florida. Same thing. You're going to be going up against some really good power plays if you make it back to the playoffs next year.
Totally agree. Then from there we had the Nylander 2-0 goal, which was just a little bit of a weird one where we had it in our own zone, but Nick Jensen was pressured pretty heavily by old man Pacioretty there. And Nylander barely keeps it in at the blue line. To be honest, I thought that maybe there was going to be offside review, but obviously there wasn't, so we would have lost that challenge if we did get it reviewed. And then Nylander off the turnover just ends up pretty much alone with Olmark, and it barely squeaked under his blocker. So that was a tough one there too, where it's like you would like a save, but it's such a good grade A scoring chance, and it
Mhm.
barely made it in. Like he almost made that save. So that was a tough one. That one really stung.
It did. That was the worst one. Or I guess no, the Pacioretty one was the worst. But like this one, the Matthews one, you kind of understand. But with that shot, oh, I just wish Shabbat, because the thing is, we were playing so tight, like man to man. Like Pinto was against Matthews the entire series, and he did a good job at it because like Matthews, I mean, he got one goal in game three, I think.
hmm
But that was it. And then obviously a lot of the players got their cookies on the power play. So with Shabbat there, I just want him to press up against Nylander. Like he allowed the shot. He wasn't close to the net, and Nylander kind of like trails in from a 3-on-2 or anything. It was a 1-on-1. I just wish Shabbat would have put more pressure and denied the shot there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm looking at the little goal visualizer on NHL.com, and after the turnover happens, Shabbat just kind of backs up towards the
Yeah,
crease and kind of, I guess
can't
maybe
do
he
that.
wanted to block the shot or something like that. But yeah, you're totally right that you'd like him to step up there.
Yeah, especially since it's like out of the gate.
I believe we are back live now. Welcome back if you're able to find the new stream link here. My power went out in the middle of streaming, so that was pretty rough, but we're back to finish up. We were about halfway through the show. We were talking about the first two Leafs goals that unfortunately went past Linus Ullmark, but we might as well talk about the little bit of happiness that we got tonight in the two Sens goals, because Brady Tkachuk, we spent the first part of the show talking about him. He got such a gigantic goal to get the crowd back into the game and rejuvenate the team and the fan base in the building there. And it was an amazing play by Chabot at the point, just a little delay to get that shot off. And I think it was going wide, but it was an amazing tip in by Tkachuk there to get that past Stolarz. So that was our the start of our little happiness there. It gave the Sens a good bit of momentum after that, I thought, too. They had a lot more scoring chances in the second period that they didn't capitalize on, but just what a huge goal and another huge moment for Brady Tkachuk on home ice, eh?
Yeah, I'm happy he had like a moment, but he had two basically in the playoffs here. He had the game tying goal in game 3, and then he had this goal here that brought the team up again. And like he a good tip out front. That's how you beat Stolarz, who is pretty damn good this series. I think, like, obviously the save percentage got worse as the series went on, but I think he probably finished around a 905, 910. That was a huge goal, and like just like it's great to see that he had a moment and multiple of them in this series, because imagine he like finished the series with like 2 assists or something in 6 games and was like a -5 and didn't have any big goals. Man, like there would have been a lot of questions, and now he's going to need a little bit of help. And that's Steve Staios' job in the offseason.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier with Brady, just proving that he's built for the playoffs. These types of goals, the deflections, the greasy rebounds, the one that he scored off of Carlo's skate, that's how you score in the playoffs. It's usually not pretty goals. Even though he did get one really nice snipe in game 3 on Stolarz, the goals that Brady Tkachuk has been scoring have been just the way that you get success and score consistently in the playoffs is getting in the eyes of the goalie, getting those tips and those rebounds. So awesome stuff from Brady once again. And then it was a while until the next goal. David Perron with just one of the most ridiculous goals I've ever seen. And the funniest part was that it was after such a terrible power play where they didn't even get a shot. And then David Perron pulls the most ridiculous bank shot out of his ass off the back of Stolar's mask and in. I shrieked. Like, usually I'm like screaming with excitement, but I was like actually just shocked. Like, I sounded like I was watching like a horror movie or something, because I was like, how did that go in? I was just so surprised. Funny how 2 of the oldest players in this series, Pacioretty and David Perron, come up with clutch moments each for their team. So David Perron, a very up and down season for him, but that's 2 huge goals for him in this series on home ice as well. So
it's true.
Happy for him too. It's another example of one of the offseason moves that Staios made, coming up big for the team in the playoffs. So yeah, love to see that.
If you don't add Amadio, Perron, and Jensen and stuff, or if you add like one of them, and miraculously this team makes the playoffs, they're out in 4 or 5, literally. Because you need those. Like, Tim Stützle is obviously just go all the time, and like it's either okay, I'm gonna like do awesome on the ice, or I'm just gonna be really frustrated, right? And he's always gonna give it his all, but sometimes it doesn't work. Same thing with Brady too. Like, they're always buzzing all the time. You can't say that about the Leafs players. You can't say that about Matthews and Marner. With Perron, it's just he's nice and even, and then like you need a guy like that. That signing was totally worth it just for that moment, because I don't know if like any other player, maybe Batherson, maybe on the roster, is going to try that shot. Like, it didn't seem like that was a play that Perron does all the time in the regular season. You have to find the little openings on the ice when you need a goal to tie the game up, and he did it at like the weirdest time too, right? Like, the power play sucked, and you just go up the next shift and you find those little holes, and you got to just put the puck in, and that's what he does, and that shows the experience.
Yeah, I think the fact that the Sens weren't generating anything leading up to that, and the momentum seemed to be swinging the Leafs' way. I think that that's kind of why he tried it. It was like, you know what, we're not getting the plays that we want, so let me just do something stupid and hope that it works, pray that it works, and it turned out to be something smart instead of something stupid. It was actually it was perfect. So that was another awesome moment. Again, this team just giving this hope right until the end. Obviously, it was crushed with that Pacioretty goal a few minutes later, but we once again we got to believe, and I'm glad we got that goal from Perron. Other than like instead of just losing like 3-1 with an empty netter after that, if we didn't score again, it was really satisfying to at least get one more goal there and have a bit of hope that maybe we were going to get to OT, even though it didn't happen.
Yeah, like when I cheered, I'm like, for context, right? I've moved into a house right now, like an Airbnb short term, and there's, like people beside my door and stuff. And it's like a house of 5 other people, basically. And I had to cheer so quietly and stuff. But that was the hardest I've cheered. I don't know when the last time I cheered that hard. Because like, yeah, you can, when it's the regular season, like I remember the home opener against Boston a couple years ago, when it was kind of the return of, the non-Melnick Sens. I cheered hard that game because I felt like we were truly back as an organization. But I don't like, probably that the hardest I cheered since then was the Ryan Dzingel goal in Game 7.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, like it was weird, like as a fan, like it brought back a memory of like when you were literally on the brink of losing, and there's a guy that steps up and comes through with a huge goal. And like I don't really remember a whole lot what happened after that. Because the Leafs scored so fast too. So you couldn't.
I gotta see. I don't even know how quick it was. Let's see. It was Perron was at 12:40, and then Pacioretty was at 14:20.
Yeah,
so
like
it was
a minute
less
and a
than
half.
2 minutes. Yeah, that's tough. And I'm looking at a freeze frame here, that Pacioretty goal. It's just a defensive miscue. You had Clevin and Matt and Paolo out there. This is probably like their first major screw up of the series. Unfortunately, It was at the biggest time. Drake Batherson is behind the net and behind Tyler Clevin for some reason. I have no idea what on earth he was doing. And then Clevin and Matt and Paolo are kind of both near each other on the short side where Ullmark is looking into the corner where Domi has the puck. Matt and Paolo just kind of desperation reaching towards Domi. He wasn't on top of him. And then Dylan Cousins is kind of on Holmberg in front of the net, but then no one's covering Pacioretty. Like this image that I'm looking at, you got 4 Sens in the vicinity of the right-hand side of the net, right by Ullmark, and then you've got 4 Leafs evenly spread out, where Domi could have passed that to McCabe, he could have passed it to Pacioretty, they were both open, and Pacioretty makes him pay. So just it's tough because they haven't, those players, especially Clevin and Matt and Paolo, not so much the second line, they've been very up and down, but Clevin and Matt and Paolo had such a good series, so it sucks to see us lose off of a screw up from them. And the play started with, I think, a 2-on-1. One of them pinched and got beat. I don't know who it was or how it happened, because I don't think I can pull up the replay of that, but just a tough way to go out on that one. I don't know. I can't get like too mad about it. It's just like sometimes you lose your coverage, shit happens. You'd like a save from Ullmark again, but it's not like an easy one to make. If he made that glove save, it would have been like absolute robbery because the net was wide open. So full credit to the Leafs third line, I believe it is, there for creating that goal.
Yeah, they finally did something. I don't think like Domi had the goal to win Game 2, but then I don't think McMahon got a single goal, and Pacioretty did nothing until now.
Yeah.
Sure, you want to break down the play a little bit, I guess. Ullmark, I mean, I'm the first person to say, hey, can you please make a save? That one, I can't even blame him that much.
Definitely.
That's one of those moments, right, where I feel like if you're a player, like you're absolutely buzzing, like you have so much energy that maybe it throws you off in a weird way, where you're so hungry to go get the puck that maybe 2 guys go on 1 guy, and like 2 Sens on 1 Leaf, and then if the Leaf gets it out to the slot, and that's what they did, right? You find the guy out in the slot, Pacioretty. Sure, he's 36, whatever. He's still got a good shot naturally, and he buries it.
Hmm.
So yeah, like sure, bring up the videotape or whatever. I don't know, but I hope that's a sort of learning experience for Batherson and Cousins going into next year because most likely they're both on the team. Cousins will be, Batherson probably. Like I don't think that there's a reason to trade him personally. I think this is something that you learn from to not not overbite, especially in crucial moments and picking your spots in really tight hockey because that's what it comes down to, right? I think the Sens are because of their good defensive structure, they can play a passive game and they can play a defensive trap sort of style because they have a lot of good players there, especially their defense core that can lock it down. And plus, they have Allmark back there. So there's a lot of potential to be a really good defensive team and play in different ways. And I don't think that like the run and gun style suits them
Hmm.
like it suited them sort of in the DJ Smith era.
Yeah, you're right that going forward, I think it's the defensive hockey and the goaltending that's going to potentially win this team games. That was the bread and butter all season, and that's
Yeah.
how they managed to win a couple of games in the playoffs too, and keep these other games close. Yeah, just tough one there. I did pull up the replay just to see, and it was yeah, they were scrambling coming back after the 2-on-1, and it was just sort of everyone lost their positioning, kind of forgot what they were supposed to be doing because of the way the play developed.
Yeah.
Paulo and Batson both chased Holmberg behind the net. He gets it to Domi, and then at first Dylan Cousins is covering Pacioretty, but then Pacioretty kind of just sneaks back more to like the top of the face-off circle and just gets into an open area. And Holmberg comes across, Cousins picks him up instead. No one else
Hmm.
picks up Pacioretty, which is basically, I think, because Batherson chased down low behind the net, then you don't have that winger there to cover that spot. So just tough look how that one went in. But
Yeah.
again, it's we can nitpick all we want. It's just the better team won in the end. So I can't be too mad about it.
Yeah.
It's not like an infuriating goal or anything like that. It's
No.
just like you said, a learning moment for guys like Batherson and
Mm.
Cousins on that one.
Yeah, and happy it was a guy like Pacioretty and it wasn't like Mitch Marner or something.
Yeah.
That's like, oh my God, he's like slayed the demon.
Hmm.
He's finally come up clutch or Matthews or something like that. Like, just sure, let it be Pacioretty. Honestly, I'll take it out of any of the players.
Yeah, we've been burned by Pacioretty before, so it's nothing new to us.
When did
Back in
that
his Habs
happen?
days, they mentioned that he scored the empty net goal in the Habs series in 2015.
Okay, game 6. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Because I remember Gallagher
So
got the game winner.
yeah, so nothing new for us on that one. It is funny though. We were pointing out that there was no offense from the Leafs bottom six. The goal is Pacioretty's first of the series, Domi's first assist of the playoffs, and Holmberg's first assist of the playoffs. So
Pontus
uh,
Holmberg.
they
Wow.
finally get a bottom six goal, the Leafs do, and that was the difference. So full
Yeah,
credit to them for coming up big. Their depth players got them the win.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do against Florida. I really don't. I know people are saying, oh, they're going to get smacked. Who knows? I mean, it's a different coach this time around. Maybe I think, like, based off of the top right now, I feel like Florida in 6, but who knows what happens. I think they're going to be out of, Florida's going to not have Ekblad in the lineup for game 1. Toronto, who knows? Maybe they go on a run, but I'm not sure. I don't think that they get past. I don't know. Actually, because they're a good team. They're a good team. Like you have
Yeah.
to give them the respect, right?
They're much better defensively this year, which I think could be a
Way
difference.
better.
But that Panthers team is really loaded up on offense
Hmm.
too, so it'll be tough.
Yeah, like when the Leafs can't. The thing is, their blue line is they got some offense from OEL and Riley. So I think they got 4 goals out of that, and then 1 goal from Benoit. Thing is, though, is like I don't feel super confident on the mobility of that decor, and it is a different game when it comes to the playoffs. But like having Carlo and Tanev, like you can't ask for 2 better defensive defensemen in the league, really.
Hmm.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
sure, they're kind of like invisible when it comes to offense, but in terms of like good defensive defensemen that like fans don't even really complain about, those are 2 of them. They've made their mark in this league by being good, rangy players out in front of the net who do really good jobs in tight spaces. And when the game tightens up in the playoffs like it does, those are guys that you want. Now, that said, the Leafs aren't a very good team at creating their own offense 5v5. You saw that in this series, right? Like the power play, they had to rely on that heavily, and it helps them. Like it ended up being the difference, honestly, right? Because you think the Matthews goal, like the Leafs score on the power play this game, the Sens don't. We go 0 for 2, they go 1 for 1. That's the game, right? The goaltending was pretty even, I guess. Like Allmark didn't do great, but that's something he's going to be on this team next year, right? And he's going to have 4 more opportunities to do in the playoffs if the Sens make it, obviously, next year. So I hope that Linus can be the guy to lead us, because there's not many other goaltenders out there that are up to his level.
Yeah, totally agree. In the end, it was special teams that were the difference in this series. And like you mentioned as well, the acquisitions of Tanev and Carlo are just huge. Like, obviously, the Leafs got their production on the power play, and obviously the face-offs were huge this series too. But I think that if the Leafs didn't have Tanev and didn't get Carlo at the deadline, if they had like the same decor they had last year, they still could have won the division. But if they didn't have those two guys, the Sens could have won the series way easier. Like, those guys are so crucial. So credit to the Leafs for getting the right pieces that they need to win some playoff hockey defensively.
Yeah, like you go back to last year, right? And what they added at the deadline, they added depth guys. They added Ilya Lyubushkin. They added, who granted is doing well in Dallas, but they added Lyubushkin, Joel Edmondson, and I feel like there was another defenseman in there, but they added like third pair guys. You added 2 like top 4 defensemen who are like not washed at all. And you have them under control for the next, I think, 2 years Carlo has left. That Carlo ad is tough because Boston didn't even need to give him up too.
Yeah, fuck the Bruins for making that trade to the Leafs, and just why did you trade him to a division rival?
I know.
Why did you do that?
I know. You
that's
didn't
brutal.
need to do that. Like,
yeah, they didn't need to do that to us. He still had term, but I guess they wanted to get assets for him, a higher price while he still had term on his deal.
Yeah, I mean, on the plus side, I guess that helps us against the Bruins next year, because who are you sticking to that top 4 on the right side? But whatever, we'll get into that in the off season.
Yeah, I think now for the rest of the show is probably time to start looking ahead to the offseason and the future for the Sens. But before we do that, if you're enjoying the show so far, make sure to hit like on the stream, click subscribe on the channel, and click that notification bell so you'll be alerted when we go live, which obviously is going to be a bit of a wait until next season now. But subscribe so that you know when we're back next year. If you're listening to the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even write a positive review. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on Game Over Network while Game Over Ottawa is finished for the off season, you can follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find the Game Over Network on Blue Sky at thegameovernetwork.com. On TikTok and Twitter, we are at Game Over NHL. On Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn, it's at Game Over Network. And if you want to keep up with any of the Game Over Ottawa hosts, we have all our socials in the description of every episode. You can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com, where we've got a newsletter that you can sign up for as well. So we will have, obviously, Toronto streams coming up, and maybe Winnipeg and Edmonton will get to the second round too. So there will still be some more Game Over content other than Game Over Ottawa. So you can follow those accounts and stay posted on what we've got going on. And then, yeah, for the third segment here, I think we should look ahead to the rest of the off season and the future for the Sens, because I think we can agree the future is bright. And we may not have the best prospect pool, but I think what's most encouraging is that the core seems ready for this. They finally figured out how to make the playoffs, and a lot of them were great in the playoffs. Like we raved about Brady and Timmy earlier on already, but also Sanderson was by far the best defenseman in this series. even though some of those Leafs defensemen got big goals, and they had those, obviously the great shutdown ability from guys like Tanev and Carlo, but I think Sanderson is just so dynamic, and the fact that he was just like totally unfazed throughout the playoffs as the number one D, he's got ice in his veins. Just I think this core is poised to do more in the future, and I think that's what has me the most optimistic.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about him. That is a player you absolutely win with. Like, if the Sens win a cup, he is winning Conn Smythe. Absolutely, he's pulling off like. And I might be hyping him up too much here, but you remember Duncan Keith 10 years ago in the 2015 playoffs? Like,
Yep.
Very similar players, and that Keith was really good offensively, but he also had the defensive game like perfectly perfectly teed up. And Jake Sanderson has that already, and the offensive game is sort of building up. Duncan Keith, I remember checking the game log. I think he logged like on average of 29 minutes that playoff run. It might be higher, and Jake Sanderson has that ability. Where do you find those types of players? Seriously, you have to draft them. You can't sign them. They like once in a blue moon they'll pop up on the trade market, but then even then you start to think, okay, like a team that won the Stanley Cup, they made a huge trade for like a number one defenseman who played on both sides of the puck and played like 30 minutes a night. Like who had that, right?
Yeah.
Jake Sanderson, we deserve a player like him, but we're also very spoiled because he is the perfect defenseman when you get down to it. Like, he's fast, he's mature, he can handle the pressure. He doesn't make like the big mistakes at all, despite playing so much minutes. He's on your first power play, he's on your first PK, and he has leadership. Like, he ticks literally all the boxes. I don't know what you thought of the draft pick in 2020, but like, I wanted Drysdale.
Oh yeah, you did.
I did because of the position. Because I was like, oh, we already have Shabbat on the left side. Shabbat's going to be our number one D going forward, and Drysdale will be the right D on that pair. Thank God. And because after that, I stopped putting in opinions for the draft whatsoever.
Yeah,
Jake Sanderson.
It's crazy how that draft turned out because we all wanted first overall, and you end up at third and fifth, and you probably get the two best players in the draft regardless.
Yeah.
At least out of those top three, like both of our guys clearly ahead of Lafreniere and Byfield, I would say. Though Byfield is pretty good for the Kings. Lafreniere not so much this year. But yeah, Jake Sanderson. Back at the draft, like, I had a feeling that the Sens were going to pick him because the scouting staff at that time gave me the vibes of like, oh, they will go for like the more safe player and not necessarily like the offensive dynamos.
And he was a safe player.
Obviously, Drysdale was seen as the like pure offensive defenseman, and that hasn't really translated for him at the NHL level. They went with the more complete player in Jake Sanderson, who has that all-around game, and it's just amazing how he's developed too, because like his rookie season, he was pretty much just all defensive ability. He didn't have much of a shot, and he would get assists sometimes, but not a lot of points recorded in his rookie season. But then he's turned into the number one power play quarterback, and he's actually got a great shot now. So it's just amazing to see this guy can do it all. Like, obviously Erik Karlsson is like the best player this franchise has ever had, but specifically talking about defensemen, Jake Sanderson is probably the best all-around defenseman. Karlsson like having the most impact in terms of the point scoring and those Norris trophies, and some pretty good playoff success with him too. But again, in terms of the all-around game, Jake Sanderson is probably the best since like Wade Redden or Zdeno Chara back in the day. Like, you got to go back far.
Yeah, Redden doesn't even compare to Sanderson. Like, I'm sorry, I never watched him, obviously, but like you look at the stats and stuff, and I think the best season that Redden had was 50 points in 65 games. Like, he hit 50 points once, I believe,
and
in his entire
that was
career.
probably in the pizza line year too.
Yeah,
so
like
everyone's going to get points. If you're playing like 25 minutes a night with the pizza line, it's easy points.
Yeah, literally. Sanderson would have had 70 that year.
Whereas Sanderson is playing with a relatively low scoring team this year in terms of the playoff teams. I'd have to look at it, but we'd probably rank like lower in terms of the 16 playoff teams in actual goals scored. And Sanderson was still like top 3 or 4 on the team in points. He's just he generates so much for this team while being a stud defensively. I think he has Norris votes in his future.
He will, yeah. And The beautiful thing here is that you have a window here for at least two of your bright stars that you got from the 2020 draft. Tim Stützle has 6 years left at $8 million, and Jake Sanderson has 7 more years left at $8 million. There is a massive window that, with the cap going up too, those contracts are going to be dirt cheap.
Yes,
Like their
100%.
worth in like 2 years from now is going to be like 10 and a half, $11 million
Hmm.
probably. And that's being generous too with how, because they're stepping into their prime now, those two players. And you're talking about two top five draft picks in a good draft too. Like the 2020 draft had a lot of depth. There wasn't a
Hmm.
ton of busts in there. Like you think of like Holtz, maybe Drysdale, like Rossi, Perfetti, they've come around. There's a lot of really good players from that draft. And we got two of the best ones. And they're 23 or younger.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
The
it's good.
contracts was the next thing I wanted to bring up, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Like
Shout out Dorian.
with the cap going up, even though Dorian was not able to build a playoff team as general manager of the Ottawa Senators, the contracts that he signed his core players to is like probably going to be one of the most crucial things
Perfect.
for the
Yep.
future of this team. Because yeah, with the cap going up, the percentages are going to be just absolutely beautiful. It's going to create so much more cap room to surround these guys with more high end talent. Because Stusla, 4 more years, I think. Actually, this goes
No, he
farther
has
off.
six. He
Yeah,
has
it
six
goes so
left.
far. It's not even. It's too much to show on my screen. So 6 more years at 8.3. He's already like a $10 million+ player, I think. Obviously, he's not putting up the points that he did 2 seasons ago, but his all-around game has improved so much. 3 more years of Brady at just over 8 million. That's an absolute steal. We'll see how much he ends up getting paid on his next contract. That's going to be huge. And Dylan Cousins, a new part of the core. $7 million for I think 5 or 6 more years as well. It goes off the screen as well. So that's not a Dorian acquisition. That's one of Dorian's core players in Josh Norris being flipped for Dylan Cousins. So Steve Steo's putting his little stamp on the core there too. $7 million I think is going to become like the average going rate for a quality second line center. So like right
Yeah.
now it feels a little rich for Dylan Cousins, but I think going forward as the cap goes up, that's going to age very well if he continues to be like a 50-point second line center. And even just as soon as next year, Claude Giroux's contract expiring could actually be huge for us next year if he's willing to take a decent pay cut, which I think he probably would be because he's not putting up like 80 points a season anymore. That can create even more cap space for the Sens, specifically this offseason to get something done. Which is awesome too. And I'm just kind of going down the list here. 2 more years of Batherson at 5 million.
It's a great contract.
Great value, and obviously the Sanderson contract as well. 8 million for a defenseman who's going to get Norris votes. Just amazing. And Shabbat as well. Sometimes I feel like the 8 million is too high for him, but again with the cap going up, that's the greatest thing is the cap is going to go up, and we don't need to give
Hmm.
anyone a huge raise at any time in the next 2 years. Like the soonest thing is like Shane Pinto RFA after one more season and Batherson UFA after 2 more seasons. Other than that, the only contracts this team needs to sign with the current players they have is just depth guys.
Yeah,
So
literally. Yeah, like
that's the biggest.
Zetterlund, like, but then Zetterlund's value is at an all-time low. I would approach Shane Pinto on July 1st and be like, "Hey, you want a 6 year deal at $5 million
Yeah,
dollars?
definitely
Like,
sign
let's do
Pinto
it."
long term.
And I
Like,
don't care if he's making like above average third line center money. Do it. He's
yeah.
so valuable.
Before the season, before he signed his contract, it was like a bit of a debate whether he should be signed to a bridge deal or long
Mhm.
term. And a lot of people were saying like, "Oh yeah, sign him long term, like 6 million plus, just do it, just spend all our cap space on him." I'm glad they didn't because we were able
Mhm.
to use a bit of our cap space to shore up the depth this year and like bring in a couple guys at the deadline. They had a little bit of cap flexibility to get Zetterlund in there, but Pinto proved his worth to this team as like the perfect third line center and a guy who can step up into the top six if needed. So I totally agree. Get that man signed long term as soon as possible. Like you can do it as soon as July 1st, get him to an extension, just as many years as he wants, sign him like anywhere between 4 to 6 million. And I think that's going to age very well as the cap goes up. Like I was saying, 7 million for Dylan Cousins as a second line center. I think if you just get Pinto anywhere below that, it's going to be pretty good as the cap goes up.
Like a third line center is so valuable. It's unbelievable. Like, because you need a guy that can either play 20 minutes, which he was doing, or he's going to be playing 12 or 13, depending on the situation. And he plays it so effectively. And you saw, like, I think he wasn't even on the power play, and he still had a really good regular season and was one of the plus players, and like is the center of that great third line that we have with Ridley Gregg and Michael Amadio. Like, when was the last time the Sens had a good third line? Because arguably in the rebuild years, they had 3 of them, right? Because we were so bad. Now it's like, okay, we have quality depth players there. And Ridley Gregg and Shane Pinto, they got to be a duo, like going into like the foreseeable future. And it's a good thing that they locked up Gregg at a low value too.
Yeah, the timing on Gregg's extension was amazing. 4 more years, 3.25. That's just
it?
gonna
That's good. That's good.
Like in 3 years, 3 million might be fourth liner money. Like
literally,
with how much is projected to go up. So that's awesome. And then I think the last thing to touch on is the defense going forward. I think a lot of people, as good as he was for this season, have been saying they were not too pleased with Nick Jensen down the stretch, but I think a lot of that was just him constantly being banged up and injured this season. So I'm not going to harp on him too much. And I think obviously you start next season with Jensen in that same spot, but you hope that Yakimchuk can start, either top pair in Belleville or third pair in Ottawa and move up and eventually take that spot from Jensen. So I feel like I'm not too concerned about that long term, just as long as Yakimchuk develops, right?
Yeah, I would say okay, like people are saying, okay, Jensen to the third pair, Yakimchuk the second. I wouldn't do that. I would stick Yak in the AHL for a year.
Yeah, I think he will start there unless he has another amazing regular season.
Yeah.
Or preseason.
Preseason, yeah. Like, give him the 9-game stint at least. But if I'm Steve Stais, like, I'm hunting this offseason. I'm seeing who's available. I don't care who it is, just to see the market, first of all, because you have the goaltender, you have the starter right there, right? I don't know what they do with the backup, but a backup goaltender is easy to find. You have Chabot and Sanderson locked up on the left side. And I know that Chabot is a little bit overpaid, sure, but you need him. And you saw, like, because if he goes down with an injury, you have Clevin back there, but you don't know if Clevin can handle a top 4 role full time just yet. Well, it's like he has 100 games of NHL experience. That's not a ton. So if you can find a right shot defenseman, go out and do it. Because Matt and Paolo is not bad, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of a different feel to that third pair. They felt like at times they struggled a little bit with the pace sometimes, just sometimes, and the mobility part.
Yeah, like you said, start Yakimchuk off slow in Belleville. Matt and Paolo, yeah, he was great down the stretch. I really like him, but probably he's ideally a 7th D. It's just that Travis Hamonic was the guy in front of him, and they couldn't justify doing that any longer, so eventually Matt and Paolo took over, and I do think he was really good, but if you want to improve and get better, right, you're totally right that I think specifically for this offseason, like maybe you try to bring in some more forwards who can kill penalties, but specifically a right-handed D, either for third pair or if you can somehow get a top 4 guy and slide Jensen down or something like that, that's probably the number one thing to look at in upgrading this team. Because in the future, Yakimchuk, we want him in the top 4, but for now, trying to improve, that's probably like the most obvious spot to improve. It's the hardest position to get throughout the league is those right-handed shutdown D. Whether it be a shutdown D or a puck mover, it's hardest to get those right-handed D. So every team in the league is looking to upgrade their right-hand side on defense at all times, and the Sens should be too, eh?
Yeah. The good thing is that I don't think you absolutely need like a top four one. Like I think Jensen is still fine as a
Yeah,
second pair
yeah. Like
guy.
they could get a solid third pair guy, and I'd be happy with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you kind of flip flop from time to time. Like I don't know, a perfect player would be like Zach Whitecloud, who I could argue is like a top four player, but he's just on the third pair of Vegas, right? Who has a
Hmm.
stacked decor. So I mean, he's probably not going to be available, obviously, but that's a player. That's a type of player you're looking for. But also like I wouldn't mind like, hey, if there's a left shot out there that can sort of play both sides, it wouldn't be a horrible thing to get a little bit more mobility back there because
Hmm.
thing is too, right? If Shabbat or Sanderson, one of them gets hurt, sure you have one of them on the top power play, but who's gonna like quarterback the second power play and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, I would like to see like your your PK be Sanderson and Zub and then Klevin and Jensen, and then have your sort of like sixth defenseman be the guy that can back up as like the second power play guy from
I
time to
like that
time.
idea, especially because luckily we didn't really have to see it too much this season, but there isn't much depth in terms of left-handed D. Like if Shabbat or
No.
Sanderson gets injured, you move up Clevin, or even if Clevin gets injured, the only guy that they really called up in that spot this year was Sabrango. I think he played one game, and he was really the only reasonable option to give a call up in that
Hmm.
spot. So yeah, a guy who has some more flexibility maybe could play both sides regardless of right shot or left shot. To either play the offside on the right or to be like the seventh D option or rotate in and out with Clement. I think that's a good idea too. Or even just like guys who are really good in the AHL as left-handed D to have better call-up options because that's one thing that I think the Sens were lucky with is that they didn't have to go too far into their left-handed
Yeah.
D depth. And even there was a couple of games I think where someone was injured. It was either Sanderson or Shabbat missed one or two games, and we just loaded up with all the right hand defensemen. Like we had, it was either Hamonic or Matt and Palo playing on the left hand side.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that they can look to improve as
Mm.
well.
Yeah, it's the good thing is that it's a very small thing.
Hmm.
Like you can find these players in abundance. You have the goaltender now, like the goalie's there. And he didn't even have like a stellar year, like he had a 909 save percentage, which is like good, and that's one of the better save percentage in the league, but he wasn't like awesome. Or
Hmm.
no, he was really good, but like
He
there
was up and
was
down. He had
yeah,
the
definitely.
hottest streaks, like
Oh
the
my God,
best
December,
stretches of any goalie in the league
unreal.
for a couple of weeks, and then he also had some really bad games too. So
Yeah.
he's up and down. But the good thing is you have Levi Marilainen, probably going to be the backup as soon as next year. So that's your goalie of the future, and they can be potentially a really good tandem for the next
Hmm.
4 years.
Hot take, I would low key bring back Forsberg though.
Yeah, you want to do that?
Give him like a 1 year deal, $1 million. You never know if Marilinen struggles. He's going to be
Hmm.
like 23 this summer. Like that's still so young for a goaltender. Just as security, right? And Forsberg, like he still ended the year with average goaltending. Like you
Yeah.
can't ask for anything better from a backup for the most part. And yeah, it's up and down and stuff, but I think he had a good winning record and stuff, and he had some really bad goal support too. So
Yeah, he was like there was a game between the Sens and the Flyers at the last week of the season where it was Forsberg versus Fedotov, and they both had the worst goal support in the entire league.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and then they go against each other. It was like a 4-3 game, which was kind of funny. But yeah, Anton Forsberg didn't get the goal support regardless of like how well he played throughout
Hmm.
the season. So and the thing with bringing him back is he was making $3 million. You can cut that down to 1 million,
Sure.
and have three goalies as options. I think that's the smart thing to do. Like if they move on from him, I get it, but I do also think because you don't want to carry three goalies on the roster, but the safe and conservative thing to do is to just have Forsberg still as the backup for one more year.
Yeah.
Start Marylainen in Belleville, and then if Marylainen is still like dominating at the AHL level, then maybe you make the switch.
Remember, remember Matt Sogard has a one-way contract next
Oh
year too.
God.
I mean, whatever. I don't think that
He-
we're not in the Melnick years,
mhm.
so they're not going to
They
keep him in the NHL.
Yeah, they might just look to trade that, see if another team wants to take a chance
Maybe.
on him.
I don't know. I think honestly, you just hope that he just goes back to Belleville, figures it out, and like that's a player you just keep in the system for a couple years, and because he's 6'8" or whatever, like he's gonna be good at like 27 when like
Hmm.
Ben Bishop was, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
guess it just depends if they want to get rid of the money or not. But like you said, it's not the Melnick years anymore, so
no.
they can handle a one-way deal in the minors.
Yeah, I would probably assume they're giving Levy like a 2-year deal. The first year is a two-way, and then the second year is one-way. Um, Yeah, Forsberg, like I would give him a 1-year contract because you can bury it too. And then also, like let's say Levy's like awesome at the start of the year and they have three goaltenders. There's probably a team out there that has an injury that would want to trade for a backup.
Yeah,
But
makes sense.
that's in like November.
Yeah. But yeah, to recap this segment, I think into the offseason, look for a right-handed D, either second or
hmm
third pair. Look for some more penalty killers on to fill up the bottom six with. You could try to get an upgrade for the top six, but that would be pretty hard to pull off, I think. It would have to be like either a player for player trade, like if you swap Batherson for like more of a goal scorer, or trying to go for a big fish free agent, which we know that those type of players usually aren't gravitating towards Ottawa. So like
They
I just
might.
I won't even.
Like,
Maybe they will after finally
yeah.
having a good season. Maybe they'll see how the city showed up for the team in the playoffs, and they'll be like, "Hey, this team's on the rise." I mean,
hmm
that's how Olmark felt when we were able to extend him before the season. Is like this team is on the upswing. So sometimes we can get a few free agents, I guess.
Yeah, I think you have some money too. I haven't looked into it yet, but you only have to sign like you Giroux maximum, like he's making 4.5, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe five. Like I will give him a 2-year deal at like four, and hey, maybe he like takes a huge cut. Who knows? But I would bring back Giroux. If he leaves, I won't hold anything against him
Yeah,
whatsoever.
I wouldn't
Thank
blame
you.
him if he wants the cup chase. You can't
Yeah.
blame him.
But then also like he just has his third kid. Um and like yeah, like his wife is from here, I think. He's like maybe when he's 40, sure, but you think he's 37. So he's still got some time and he's still super effective.
Mm-hmm.
Like sure, he's not fast and he's not a first power play guy, but he's still really good. Unfortunately, Perron makes $4 million next year, which is a little bit tough, but I think you keep him in a scoring depth role. You do that. You already have a solid third line in Amadio Perron or Amadio Pinto and Greg. I would bring back Gaudette. um,
Yeah, surprisingly, I agree.
yeah, like maybe don't chuck him on the fourth line right away. See who, like, add a
Mm-hmm.
Nico Sturm, like a defensive
Yeah.
fourth line center, something like that. Cousins, if he's not brought back, it's not the end of the world.
That's a spot where maybe you could get a penalty killer instead
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they
because
never
he
used anyone
wasn't,
there.
yeah, and he wasn't a center, and he didn't do a whole. Honestly, he was kind of invisible in the playoffs.
He had some really good stretches in the regular season, but yeah,
Mhm,
tough injury to come back from, I think. So
yeah. Zetterland, if there's a trade there, I might do it. Like, I know a lot of people like him. He is good, but and obviously I'd be willing to like hear him out next year and stuff. But if there's a trade there, I wouldn't be super opposed.
yeah,
Seriously.
yeah, it's like we all really like him. I like his hustle and his effort, but
Yeah.
at a certain point, the offense just wasn't there. So I like him as a long term piece, and maybe because the offense wasn't really there, you can sign him to a cheaper contract. But
hmm
like you said, if they do flip him elsewhere, I wouldn't have a huge issue with that, just because we didn't get like the production that we expected.
Yeah, honestly, as well too. Like, yeah, they might try and go hunt for top six players this year because Giroux, like, you don't know how good he's going to be
Yeah,
next year.
that's the one thing I'm thinking is maybe Zetterlund is the guy who could step up and replace Giroux. If not, like if Giroux isn't able to be a top six forward next season, it's basically Zetterlund or bust. So
hmm
you either go with him as the backup plan for that, or like you said, you try to add someone.
Yeah, I mean, the key is that you have kind of like duos where you have Timmy and Brady on the first line, you have Cousins and Batherson on the second, and then you have Pinto and Greg on the third. Like those are like quality players like in their position and their slots, right? So it's just kind of putting the pieces in the right slots and stuff. And Zetterlund, like I don't know where he fits because like he kind of strikes me as a guy that might actually get dealt this summer. You know, it was kind of a risky play by Steos because Zetterlund wasn't on the block and it was a last minute deal and they tried it out. And honestly, he's an effective bottom six player because he's like a shift winner, you know, but he doesn't kill penalties. And I think he would maybe do better in a different team. But I'm also not like, oh, don't bring him back. You know, he's also an RFA this offseason, so you have him under control.
Yeah. Lots of options for the Sens heading into the offseason. I think we'll throw it to the chat now before we wrap it up. Unfortunately, because the stream crashed, I can't go back and see the previous chat comments from the first half of the show because YouTube sucks and it takes like hours to regenerate the chat replay, but we've got some comments here on the second stream. Luna says, good series, a great battle, go Leafs go. Sens looked great though. Rami saying, future is bright in Ottawa, great series and battle. I think that's just, it's nice to see that sentiment from opposing teams' fans is that they are, like, we scared them. We gave them a run for their money, and it's not like just them dunking on us after the series. Like, it could have been with a sweep. So I think it's nice to see those sentiments.
Yep. Yeah, like some Leafs fans can be brutal, but there's so many of them out there that's like, okay, calm down, please. Like it's not that serious. So yeah, shout out you guys in the chat for the Leafs fans. It's you know, when you move to Toronto, you're supposed to you kind of feel for them in a way, but I'm not gonna say too much about that really.
Yeah. Adam Firebear, amazing to see Ottawa take this huge step forward. Totally agree. Shingoku, you could try to sign a guy like Alex Lyon to a two-way contract as insurance. Yeah, like maybe if Forsberg is able to get like a backup role for more money somewhere else, that could be an option where it's a guy who's kind of like on the fringe, who could be like a third goalie. That's a good shout out as well. Cody Hamilton, Leafs fan here. Hell of a game, boys. You guys have a very bright future. Looking forward to seeing you guys again. Yeah, like this playoff series, obviously the Leafs were the favorites, but the Sens gave them a run for their money, and I think going forward, it's going to be fun seeing many more matchups potentially. The way that the NHL's divisions are set up, we could have a lot more Battle of Ontarios in our future, and maybe we'll be able to win one eventually.
That's what you got to do next year. Like next year, because it's kind of linear, right? That's the expectation usually. This team has to win a round next year. Because how many cracks are you going to have with Brady Tkachuk? Because like, yes, he loves Ottawa and he is the face of the franchise, but he has 3 years on his contract. And until I think it would be the summer of 2027, that's when the speculation maybe starts to trickle in, unless he signs a long-term deal right away. Then it's all good, right? But you always have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, that's a bit of the current window is those next three seasons, but because that's the biggest raise that you have to give out for a while. Like we said, with all those other guys locked up, 3 more years of Brady at his current deal to turn yourself into a contender and hopefully win some playoff rounds in the future. I think I'm about ready to wrap it up. How about you, Damien? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, it was just like if I had to give this season a rating, it was like an A minus. Like if you just go back to what November was like, oh my Lord, like
yeah,
we
it
were
could have
done.
been so much worse. The fact that
could have
we
been.
got to the playoffs, like there was a couple times where it looked like we were cooked.
Yeah. And I'm just so happy that like the fan base is back and they're loud and they're proud of the team. Like, because you go back to like 2023, there was a little bit of a glimmer there, but it was just like, it was kind of delusional hope that we were going to make the playoffs. Now the team's in it. They've made a statement in the playoffs. Right now, the fan base and organization is in a good spot, but you can't sit back in the offseason. You can't, because I remember if you go back to 2015, like the same sort of run, right? It like underdog with the hamburger run. You had some good young pieces going forward. They added like no one in the off season.
Yeah,
Absolutely no one.
very
And
well.
And then they flunked out the next year because they wrote a hot goalie. But you got to add this off season, but it's great to see that like this is a respected organization now. Sure, we're not going to be signing guys left and right because of our location and all that stuff, and we haven't won a cup. But like and I'm not even just saying this, right? Like this is the most confident I've been in the organization since like I don't know, like 2017, I guess. But even then, it was sort of so-so, right? So, and I'm just very happy that like Michael Anlauer is our owner and Steve Stais is our general manager. Like, and Travis Green, great job this year in instilling this team to become winners, right? That's what we need is to get these core players in the right mindset. And they did that. And it was consistent. Like there was no, you think of like the weird things that happened this year. The weirdest thing was the Quebec City thing that happened when they had the 2 preseason games announced in Quebec.
And that's something that if it happened under Melnyk, we'd be freaking out. But there was a bit of a response to it. But in the end, like I already forgot about that until you mentioned
exactly.
it, right? So
yeah. Like, and so this is a legit organization. I remember like in past years, yeah, sure, we're an NHL team, but we weren't a competitive NHL team. Like you think of like the Carolinas and out there, like those are from the top down. They're just so well structured. Everyone's so bought in. And that's what the Sens are now. It's not a bunch of guys that you hope that maybe it mixes. There's an identity. There's Tim Stützle. There's Brady Tkachuk. There's Jake Sanderson. There's Linus Ullmark. And there's a good owner and a good GM and a good coach right now. And who knows, maybe Travis Green is fired next year, right? But there's still like a legit feel with this organization. So I'm like, yeah, sure, it sucks that we lost tonight, but it should be upwards from here. It should be, you know?
Totally agree with all of that. I think moving forward, they got to add some pieces this offseason to make sure that you get back to the playoffs next season. And like you said, just turn into one of those teams that's competitive every single year, regardless of who's on the roster, like teams like Carolina and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be huge going forward. Yeah, I think your ending words there is a pretty good note to leave it on. I think I'm all out of gas for tonight. So that'll do it for the season for Game Over Ottawa. Thank you everyone for tuning in all season. Thanks for interacting in the chat. We hope to be back next season, and we've still got some more Game Over playoff streams on the other markets too, so you can go check those out as well. Keep supporting Game Over Network. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not already. Rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform. And have a good night, everybody.